Calling this meeting to order. This is the regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Golden Rain Foundation of Laguna Woods, a California nonprofit mutual benefit corporation. Welcome. This is Tuesday, April 2nd. Leading us in the pledge this morning will be Director Muldell.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And let's see, media here. Yes, media is here. Could we have an approval of the agenda? Moved. All those in favor? Thank you, thank you. Approval of the minutes of the meeting of March 5th. Motion. Do I have a second? Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. Report of the chair. After all this rain, I want to say welcome springtime, and I would like to say thank you to the many staff members who continue to work on the gate project. Yesterday, we drove through the newly completed Gate 8, and we were so glad to see that the gate arm project is moving along. It was really exciting. And then in my email, I received a poem that one of our citizens has written about gates. And it's anonymous, but and it has 4 stanzas. I'm only going to read the first 2 stanzas for you, but I think it's pretty neat. Gates. For a very long time, protection has been prime. Knowing it is there is more than sublime. Among many devices that are often used are electronic gates, if they're not abused. The process is simple and used from afar. All that you need is a code on your car. Now, when you enter, just sit back and smile. Technology takes over. It's the new lifestyle. Anyway, I thought that was really cute, and I have no idea who wrote it, but it did show up in my inbox. So this morning, for my chair's remarks, I'm cutting them short right at this very moment because we are blessed to have a guest speaker this morning. You know, when people come up and share ideas with us or concerns, we do listen and we work on them and see if we can ameliorate any problems that we can ameliorate, we do. And so we've had a lot of discussion about the drop-in lounge and the television set there. And so that's one of the things that we have been working on. And I would like to have Brian Gruner, who is our director for recreation, come up and speak. And I'm not sure if it's supposed to be director or head of the department, or I'm not sure of Brian's title, but he's in charge of recreation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you know, the drop-in lounge has been somewhat of a hot topic over the last few months with the removal of the television that we had there in the drop-in lounge for a number of years, causing some issues with residents and getting in arguments and almost physical altercations amongst themselves, where we had to call security on several occasions. And so we felt that it was best to go ahead and remove the television simply for the safety of not only the staff, but also for residents. And then as we did remove the TV, haven't gotten really a whole lot of feedback from residents in regards to that they were not happy with it. And to make a long story short, we kind of ended up getting a petition going from a couple of residents. And we felt like, okay, let's review this one more time. Let's see if that was maybe not the right decision. And after consideration and working with the CAC board community committee, we felt that, okay, let's propose bringing the TV back, in addition to potentially offering some tablets as an additional entertainment source, and which, after lengthy discussion at the last CAC meeting in March, it was decided to not bring the tablets in or introducing the tablets, but just primarily focused on bringing the TV back, but with a very limited, restricted programming, which would essentially just feature TV6. TV6 is one of those, is our television channel, obviously. It's very informative in regards to what's happening within our community. It shows our board meetings, and I think it will be very educational for our residents who are there, enjoying that amenity, the drop-in lounge. I've actually gotten quite a few compliments that they actually enjoy the lounge a lot more. It is more relaxed. There's not the TV blasting. They can have conversations. It's more engaging for them. So there have been some very positive comments coming from our residents. However, with the introduction of the TV and bringing it back, again, with the limited programming, and it would be basically a muted programming, so we would only have the closed caption, so people can still enjoy that, quietness and that social aspect where they can talk and socialize without the TV actually blasting. But yet it would be informative for those who are not engaged in, conversations, or they just want to maybe be a little bit by themselves, or just kind of focus on what's happening within our community. So that's kind of the rundown of it. It's been, quite a hot topic, but I think we kind of found a good compromise and a good starting point where we can, reintroduce it, and people can enjoy both the quietness as well as the informative aspect of having the TV down there.
Thank you, Brian. Do any board members have a question or comment for Brian? Okay, Pat.
I know you don't want to hear this, Brian, but in my opinion, this is cruel and unusual punishment, making them watch Channel 6.
Yes, Annette.
Excuse What we did find out, though, as the chair of CAC, when we were reviewing this in the committee, is that if anybody, wanted to go to listen to either Fox or CNN or whatever they wanted to listen to in terms of more channels, that all those channels were available on tablets in the library, which is a very short stroll away from that, and it gives everybody all of the things that they want. So maybe that'll give us more visitors at the library.
Right. Then and there's several different options. I mean, we have a TV up at Clubhouse 5. We have a TV over at Clubhouse 6. We have the tablets at the library, which is just a short walk, from the drop-in lounge. So there's options out there for people who don't have television. They do want to watch different channels. They can also come down to the gym. Might be a good encouragement to work out. So another topic that kind of has come up with the drop-in lounge that I want to mention is the volunteer program. So the volunteer program, about a year ago, we purchased a new coffee machine. And it's a fully automated, integrated coffee machine that takes very little maintenance. And one of the biggest reasons we had volunteers there was to maintain the coffee, replenish it, clean up, and so forth. And with the introduction of that new coffee machine, there just simply wasn't a need to have the volunteers there. At the CAC meeting, I did mention that we have so many volunteer opportunities out there, anything from Clubhouse 4 to the library. We have over 500 volunteers, so there's a lot of opportunities out there if they want to be involved and want to be engaged. But at this point, we can manage the cleanliness of the drop-in lounge. There's still people bringing in cookies and refreshments for free that residents can enjoy. So we really haven't, in my opinion, lost anything. We just gained, the lower maintenance of the coffee machine that we currently have. So I think that was a definite benefit. And then another thing that kind of came up was the furniture on the patio, which is right adjacent to the drop-in lounge. There's a door that goes out to the patio. And when I first started here, we had numerous resident complaints who actually live right across the little grass area. That it was very, very noisy in the mornings. People were loud, and they had about 50 to 75 people congregate out there on the patio, and it simply wasn't sufficient enough. It was simply too many people to really kind of keep the noise level down. So we felt, okay, let's restrict the patio hours, and we'll open up at 10. In addition, at that time, we didn't have additional furniture, so we took that furniture and we put it into the actual courtyard. So that way, there's a buffer between, the residents' homes and then also where people are congregating and kind of hanging out. So, and it's been working out great. I haven't had any complaints. People enjoy being in the courtyard. They grab a cup of coffee. There's more shade over there, and they can be, relatively as loud as that they want to be. So I know that was something that has come up in the past as well, and I just wanted to kind of address that.
Good. Thank you, Brian. Annette has something.
Okay, at the CAC meeting too, what you did do, and I believe, I don't know if Whitney can basically confirm this for me, but on our CAC agenda, included in that package was a whole listing, pages and pages of volunteer opportunities for people to take advantage of. So that, that's where you can find that if you're interested.
Right, and we have that available at the rec office if people are interested. It's a 5-page document, double-sided. So it just, there's a ton of opportunities out there for people.
Okay, anybody else? Thank you, Brian. Good
Okay,
information.
thank you.
Update from VMS Director Dan Kenny.
Good morning. I think Brian had a great idea. Mine initially was just to put a piece of drywall up, put 2 TVs in, one CNN and one Fox, but I think this one works out much better. Probably less conflict. I had a terrific presentation prepared for today, and then I realized April Fool's was yesterday, so I had to rewrite this whole thing. Today I will review some of the items VMS has been working on. I know Jeff will present an overview of what projects and successes the VMS staff have had this past month, so I won't discuss those. As a VMS board member, I'm impressed with the scope of the Laguna Woods Village operation. When you consider Laguna Woods Village has significantly more employees than, say, for example, our neighbor to the west, Laguna Beach, and a budget that is higher than many surrounding cities, including Lake Forest, Laguna, and others, it is clear that the VMS management team has challenges unlike any other HOA provider. As you are aware, the VMS board conducts bi-monthly meetings, twice a month. This past month, the board had the opportunity to review items such as the VMS open board meeting rules, and also developed the VMS staff and board director interaction guideline. As you can imagine, with 2 housing mutuals, GRF, and at times the towers, staff contact can be quite hectic. Couple that with the ongoing interactions with the VMS board, and you can understand the need for interaction guidelines. It should be noted that the officers of the mutuals and GRF have been very helpful with these guidelines and have been instrumental in putting them into effect. During our meetings this past month, we had an opportunity to receive presentations from Chris Spar and Pam Bashline from Resident Services, and along with a presentation from Chris Lagenauer from our Transportation and Maintenance Department. I think all of us realize the Resident Services Division is a busy place, and a lot of times when we do our VMS presentations, we do graphics, a lot of things on TV. This is the one I wish I had done. I'm not sure if people realize, but in 2018, there were 368,064 contacts that affected resident services. And you think about that, 368,000. If you take 5-day weeks and all that, it works out to about 1,400 contacts a day. And that includes, gate clearance, people here, walk-ins, phone contacts, and a myriad of other items. Resident services and gate clearance account for roughly 50% of those contacts, as you might imagine. Chris Lagenauer provided a board with an overview of the scope and operation of all of the vehicles and things that we have. I know we all see our Laguna Woods vehicles driving around, but I had no idea that we had actually about 420 of them, which includes buses, cars, and even a Mack semi truck. If you've ever been up on the yard, it's just a truly amazing thing, and you can imagine what a huge job it is to maintain and license that many vehicles. I would also like to mention that the VMS board has lost a very important member of our board to the Third Mutual. Reza Karimi, our second vice chair, was selected as the new board member of Third. And it seems that this is an ongoing phenomenon. The VMS board, since I was originally placed on it, we have lost 3 people. Steve Parsons is now on the Third Mutual board. Reza is on the Third Mutual board. And Andre Torn and Anthony Liberatore are on the United board. So it seems like kind of a process that's been going on. Third Mutual is going to appoint a new VMS representative at their next meeting, so we look forward to enjoying a full complement. At this time, I was going to turn over the presentation to Chuck Holland, our CIO. I had asked Chuck to highlight the many things on his plate as well as introduce some valued members of his staff. Unfortunately, Chuck had to attend a funeral service in Michigan and has been delayed on his return. As you know, Chuck has been the CIO at VMS since 2015 and has done an unbelievable job. Prior to VMS, Chuck was National Director of Systems Integrations for PCM, the former provider here at Laguna Woods Village. I should note that Chuck is not a stranger to Laguna Woods Village, having previously worked here for about 4 years as a senior systems engineer. Chuck has a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science and Computer Engineering from National University, and I can tell you as a former Navy veteran, it almost pains me to tell you, but it won't surprise anyone, that Chuck was a sergeant in the United States Marine Corps. At this time, I would like to present 3 of our valued managers, Paul Ortiz, Ray Esperon, and Matt Parker. And I think it's important for VMS to highlight the people who make our jobs so much easier and make things so good for the community. And so I'm delighted to introduce Paul Ortiz is a GRF Broadband Services General Manager, and he's a valuable and long-term tenured Laguna Woods Village employee, having started here in 1980. I haven't asked Paul, but I wondered what state of the art was then. You know, when you think of what we enjoy today with TV and broadband and internet, I think he was probably wheeling around one of those big heavyweight TVs at the time. Paul has a Bachelor's of Art in Television and Film from Cal State Fullerton, and prior to Laguna Woods Village, served as Director of Operations for Rossmore Electric Incorporated. Ray Esperon, who's our Broadband Services Operations Service Supervisor, has a really varied background. Ray, a New York transplant, has owned her own businesses, spent considerable time in the building industry, and a myriad of different jobs here in Laguna Woods Village. She's worked in purchasing, accounting, security, and finally found her great niche in broadband services. In 2012, Ray earned a Recognition of Excellence Award for the critical part she played in PCM buying back its operations for broadband services. Most recently, she oversaw the installation of the new simulcast antenna up on the hill and installation of lasers that allows the increased internet speeds that we enjoy and the quality of our television services. Last but not least is Matt Parker, who said he was going to clean up and wear a tie today, and sure enough, he did. Matt is our IT operations manager and has worked for the village for about 27 years. So if you see a pattern, I mean, there's some long tenured people who have done an unbelievably good job for us. Matt has a degree in IT management, and when not helping run the broadband and IT services, Matt also volunteers in the City of Aliso Viejo Police Assistant Liaison Services, known as PALS. PALS members provide a myriad of services that aid in the safe operation of Aliso Viejo. It is clear that the village and VMS are lucky to have these long-tenured, very talented employees who are critical members of our broadband IT operation. I would like to personally thank them for the great job they do. And I asked them earlier if any of them would like to say a few words, and they were cautioned by Chuck not to open their mouths. Is that? I'm not sure if that's true, but I heard that it possibly is. But congratulations, and we very much appreciate your service.
Congratulations. What just the service that these folks have given to the community, we just truly appreciate. And Dan, thanks for the great introduction. And since I didn't run up there and shake hands, I'd like us to give another round of applause for these great employees. Thank you so much. Pardon?
When will we be able to hear the April 1st rendition?
Oh, yeah. That was funny. Bert just said, when can we hear Dan's April 1st rendition? I'm not sure. So where are we now? Where we are now is the CEO report. Jeff Parker.
Thank you. And I'd just like to add on to it. It's great being the new person on the block to have such great quality staff behind you. Makes your job a lot easier. So thank you to the individuals that just got recognized. Couple things. Just wanted to go over. First of all, as everybody already knows, but we had the pickleball courts opening for play and very active use already. That was Wednesday, March 13th. Great turnout. I want to thank the whole team, Ernesto, Brian, Siobhan, everybody that helped coordinate along with our communications group, Eileen, and everybody to put on a great show that day. And it was really a nice turnout, and it was fun to see. And of course, the continued activity out there is going to be great. As the president said, the gate retrofit project, certainly moving forward. Gates 2 and 8 are now open, which is a great segue into our next step, which is gates 3 and 7 will be closed come Monday, April 8th. They are the next phase of our construction. We anticipate that. Again, the plan is to get the 2 gates done in a 6-week program. Sooner if we can do that, depending on weather. But we're going to work on that guarantee of getting it done in 6 weeks, unless we run into a disaster of some type. Temporary gate house will be stationed at each gate. Gate 3 and 7 will allow pedestrian access, and gate 7 will also allow golf cart access. With regards to the temporary closures for 3 and 7, on gate 3, just want to indicate pedestrian hours will be 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Gate 1 and gate 2 open 24/7. No change there. Gate 4 open until 10 p.m. And relative to gate 7, pedestrian and golf cart hours will be 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. And gate 8, 9, and 10 will be open 24/7. So moving forward on that, and so make sure we have access through there. One of the key elements, as the president indicated, was, and through that poem, was the RFID program, which is making the gate upgrades and so important. And this process will upgrade all of the village gates to a radio frequency identification decal, which is RFID. That technology is going to allow for easy, quick access for our residents to have those IDs to get in and out without having to get into the guest lane and that process. It will increase our security, which is obviously one of the critical factors of why we wanted to move forward with this project. I just wanted to make sure that residents understood that without the RFID decal, they have to go through, again, the guest process, but you can get that ID through community services during our business hours of 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Residents must bring in a current vehicle registration and ID card, and the vehicle RFID is $25. So we encourage everybody that has a vehicle to get that, because it's just going to make it so much easier to get in and out and more security for our community. So that's important. On another transportation note, we, staff and the residents here have been working with us in the sense that we had our transportation community workshops. And we are going to now have our consultant come back and prepare a report. And so tomorrow at 1:30, Wednesday, at the Laguna Woods Village Community Center boardroom, transportation consultants, FAIR and peers will provide formal update on what they received in the way of community input from our 2 workshops that we had previously. If you have any desires or you want to call to get additional information, call the 949-597-4659 number, or email us at ridevmsinc.org to get any additional information that you might want. The next one doesn't include transportation, but it will include activity, and that's coming up at our Easter at our Equestrian Center. We'll celebrate the Easter in the Village. This is an activity at our Equestrian Center on Saturday, April 20th from 9 a.m. To 11 a.m., where children can come and enjoy pony rides, petting zoo, inflatable activities, crafts, and more, and families can take selfies with the Easter Bunny, which is always fun, and visit the horses and more. Easter egg hunt starts are as follows: 0 to 3 at 9:30, 4 to 6 at 9:45, and kids age 7 to 10 at 10 a.m. So that's always a very, very fun activity, a big activity for the village. It's free admission. Complimentary refreshments will be there. Shuttle bus available from 8:30 to 11:30. And if you want more information, call 949-597-4275. The last thing that I wanted to mention, which is also a fun event, is the 7th Annual Art Fair. Is coming up Saturday, April 27th at the Clubhouse 2 from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. And that's going to feature residents' artwork showcased and available for purchase. There'll be food will be available for purchase there by a catering company, complimentary beer and wine while supplies last. So get there, enjoy some art, and have fun, and we'll see you there at that event. So, and that includes my report today.
Thank you, Jeff. And next we have open forum. At this time, the speakers may address the Board of Directors regarding items not on the agenda and within the jurisdiction of the Board of Directors of the Golden Rain Foundation. So it has to be something that we would be interested in, something about our village. There is a maximum time limit of 3 minutes per speaker, and a speaker may only address the board once during this period. The board reserves the right to limit the total amount of time allotted for the open forum. And I neglected to say one thing this morning, and I forgot to say, if you have coffee, please make sure that the lid is on the coffee. And secondly, if you have your phone with you, please make sure it's on mute or turned off. Thank you so much. And Whitney, who do we have?
Chris Collins.
Good morning, Chris.
Good morning. I'm Chris Collins, 3306Q, and I'm here for a little bit of an update on the work of the foundation of Laguna Woods Village. First of all, I want to say up front that really the biggest mission of the foundation is to be of assistance to residents in helping them to age in place. And to that end, we do various things. And we have been currently in an expansion mode about the kinds of things that we do. So, help with dementia or Alzheimer's. So, if your husband or a spouse member or someone that you're living with is experiencing increased forgetfulness or dementia, and you can't afford a caregiver, would you know what you could do? So to meet this need, the foundation is partnering with South County Adult Day Services, which is operated by Alzheimer's Orange County, which is right here on El Toro Road. So to meet this need, the foundation has recently expanded our financial support for the first time in offering financial support for residents who need social daycare services. Previously, we lended support only for participants in the medical model. Now participants in both can receive foundation assistance. Both of these programs, the social one and the healthcare program, are available here at the El Toro location. And to those affected by Alzheimer and other forms of dementia, they have two distinct programs. The socially oriented program, which is called Adult Day Program, offers social opportunities, which would include recreation, meals, friends, combined with some health services like the monitoring of blood pressure and medication. The second, which is called Adult Day Healthcare Center, is prepared to handle a range of complex conditions, medical conditions, including things like nursing, care, as well as various therapies such as physical, occupational, or speech therapy. And there's counseling assistance with the dementia or behavioral conditions, like maybe eating assistance. So the initial screening and the paperwork are required prior to starting. So for information about this, and to see if someone is eligible for this financial assistance, you can call 949-855-944 and ask to speak to a social worker. As Jim McClear, the Chief Executive Officer of Alzheimer's Orange County recently said, and I quote, "Without the support of the foundation, our friends from the village would not be able to receive these vital services, and many would no longer be able to stay in their homes." So thank you very much, and if you have any questions, please either call us at the foundation phone number, or you can get us online. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
John Lafferty.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. John Lafferty, 3513C.
Good morning, John.
Good morning. I'm very glad to see Ms. Millman here because this is about the cable card issue. I'm here to respond to the proposed fee for cable cards. Although the December minutes refer to a 30-day period for the board to consider this action, I assume the other 228 other cable card owners first heard about this around 10 days ago when David Wooten called me directly and told me the board had decided to impose a $5 monthly fee in order for me to continue using the cable cards, for which I've already paid what was imputed to be a one-time fee. To reiterate, as a party to a contract with LW Broadband, I received no notification, email or snail mail of this fee. And according to David Wooten, probably the only notification was on Channel 6, maybe in the Globe, but delivery of the Globe was interrupted for the first part of the year as they changed distributors. When I acquired the cable cards from Broadband, I was never informed that a monthly fee was part of the deal. And from my point of view, Laguna Woods Village has unilaterally altered the terms of the contract between us. And according to Mr. Wooten, the other the set-top devices that are referred to in the December meeting will remain unaffected. I don't know, is this indeed the case, that they remain unaffected? Anyway, The board's imposition of this fee without the input of affected customers is at odds with the ethos of the village. Laguna Woods cooperatively aids many groups and clubs. Cost of a round of golf is nothing like what it would be anywhere else locally. That's fine. The wood shop, I did a project there when I first moved here 3 years ago. My number was 250, and the wood shop's been there for, what, 40 years? And there are woodworkers who make a living off that. That's fine. Paddle tennis, pickleball, we paid money to upgrade their facilities. Great, I think that's fine. But in the matter that brings me here today, 230 devices out of 12,000 have been singled out for a different kind of treatment. Even though we own the set-top boxes and paid a one-time charge, the board has decided, in the midst of a major upgrade to the entire broadband system, I may add, that it is appropriate to impose a $5 monthly fee
10
on a small
seconds,
group of
John.
villages.
10 seconds left.
Thank you. Let me then just cut to the committee and the board, I believe, must hear from affected residents. It's just common fairness. And to charge more than a giant corporation, Spectrum would have charged me $2 a month, where I used to live in West LA, the same thing, $1 of which was a secure connection fee that applied to every set-top box. So I would like to urge the board and the committee to reconsider this fee, which, to my knowledge, was imposed without any input from the people affected. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
Elizabeth Romano.
Good morning, Elizabeth.
Good morning. Again, thank you for your time. I'm here again from the United Nations as a representative.
Excuse
A
me.
point of order.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
Yes, Diane, I think you're going to say what I would say. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't think that it's not on the agenda that someone from the United Nations is going to speak.
Okay,
No,
I happen
and-
to also be a resident here, so I will.
Okay,
But-
as a resident, got it.
But
Okay.
as a resident, but any discussion here really has to be something that we would have something to do with.
Okay, you do. With the first item is the issue of the TV. And just to update you on what I have done as a resident is I have called Adult Protective Services. They have come out to say that it was elder abuse to remove the TV. I contacted them again about the decision to leave it on Channel 6. That also was an issue of elder abuse and taking away people's right to some, choice and dignity. I will be following up on this. There's nothing good about isolation. And this has taken 6 months, and it really has impacted a lot of people very negatively. And it causes health concerns. And I think that's important that we consider that. Another point is the issue of pending. I've contacted Erin Brockovich because of the concerns about the Roundup out here. She has given us, as residents, some good resources to get our soil tested and to see what's going on. My neighbor's dog is the 4th dog in the cul-de-sac to die of massive tumors in its bowels. He had to pay $1,300 to have it euthanized, as did his residents. So there's also a substitute for Roundup, which can be as simple as vinegar and baking soda. So I'm just, paying attention to what the residents and my community is telling me. My own dogs have lost their fur and have bad paws now. But I really wanted to concentrate on the issue of the TV and the great impact on socialization that it has and a negative impact. And it seems like 5 months or 6 months, as it's coming up to be, is a very long time to make a decision about this. And I agree with this statement about Channel 6. I would like any of you that are making these decisions to sit there for several hours and watch Channel 6 and see if you don't feel like, with all due regard to Channel 6, putting some, toothpicks in your eyes, because it is not educational, it is not informative. So asking that people walk to another TV, I think, is a burden on them so that they can get updated news. So thank you for your time.
20 seconds. Thank you, Elizabeth. And just to note, that, of course, you got to hear Brian's report this morning, so that's wonderful that we're moving in that direction. Next person.
Annie Zipkin.
Good morning, Annie.
Good morning. Thank you for letting me speak. I know that you're doing a lot of work right now on the gates, and I'm very concerned about gate 3, which is a gate that I use every day. Now you're putting automatic gates up there. That gate is the most dangerous gate that I have to go through every day. It goes from 2 lanes into 1 lane, and many people are making the right turn onto Majorca. And there is in front of that gate this huge pine tree. I've looked at this pine tree, and there actually may be enough room that you may not even have to remove that pine tree to make a right-hand turn lane. I have seen such close calls of those 2 car lanes coming together over there, and I just think it's a terribly dangerous situation that could be corrected by having another lane over there for people making the right turn coming in from that residential lane to get onto Majorca. And you're doing all this work there, and I think the automatic gates are actually going to make the situation worse. So that's all I would hope that you would consider. It may be a large transportation issue and construction, but I think everybody should take a really good look at that because I know there's already been issues over there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maxine McIntosh.
Good morning, Maxine.
Good morning, dear neighbors. I encouraged everyone that I saw for some time to practice using the gates at gates 5 and 6 so they'd be ready for 2 and 8. And I know it really helped my husband and I. It's nice to have them open. They're working beautifully. A while back, about maybe 5 years ago, the drop-in lounge and patio went through a really nice facelift. It cost more than $100,000, and it made the room and patio very attractive and comfortable. And everyone has really enjoyed that. The people going there, residents coming to the drop-in lounge won't want to go to a library. They meet their friends there. Instead of going to the lounge, they meet their friends there. Many of them take their breaks from their classes there so they can sit and visit with classmates, have coffee in the lounge. When they find it noisy or want fresh air, they move to the patio. Many times when I go to the lounge, I walk around and introduce myself to everyone. And I say, I'm just trying to get to know my neighbors. And I learn what they're doing. I learn what brought them to the village, learn what they like about it. It's interesting, and what they like about the lounge. It was stated that you will allow TV, but the residents there in the drop-in lounge may only watch TV 6. I heard that clearly, didn't I? Only watch TV 6. While I believe we're truly fortunate to have that wonderful closed-circuit television station, I know, as you do, that many programs are repeated, and some of them are repeated and repeated and repeated. I think you'll find most people do not find that very entertaining all day long. I'm hearing there'll be no additional choice of station. That's it or nothing. TV 6 or nothing. You have retired scientists, business owners, educators, corporate CEOs, moms and pops using the lounge. The TV limit sounds like the residents are being addressed at a kindergarten level. I want to repeat that you really need to deal with culprits who make it unpleasant there. Have the rules posted, and when they don't follow a rule, and one of them says we all are entitled to enjoy our lives here in the village, when they don't follow a rule, take away their right to use the drop-in lounge for a year. But
20
not
seconds, Maxine.
everybody. When it was renovated, they took out the sofa and they put in a semicircle of chairs in front of the TV. And I've seen different people in those chairs, not the same ones all the time, enjoying discussing what they're watching on TV. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pat Blomgreen.
Good morning, Pat.
563A. I just had some general comments. One of them is about the lounge, drop-in lounge. I wanted to point out that people who go there are waiting for buses and things like that. And so to go to the library instead of there is not really very convenient and not a very good suggestion, I don't think. And I agree with Maxine that we are adults. We're old adults. We should have learned by now how to behave. And maybe some people need to be removed. Maybe a hurry-up call to security or something could be instituted, something like that. But anyway, and I want to compliment the general reception out here. They're very helpful. I don't come up very often, so I don't know what to do, and they've helped me a lot. So I want to compliment them for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
Dick Rader.
Good morning, Dick.
Hi. Good morning. Dick Rader, 270D. There's a lot of misinformation about Roundup, and it occurred again this morning. If you go to the world's scientific literature, you will find no publication that says that Roundup causes cancer in dogs. There's no studies at all. Does it cause cancer? In 2015, 17 scientists got together and decided to call it a probable carcinogen. If you go into the world's literature and you look at what regulatory bodies across this world have said, Roundup does not, well, glyphosate does not cause cancer.
Thank you, Dick.
That concludes the speakers.
Hey, that includes the speakers. And so, members of the board, Pat.
Yes, I'm sorry to be addressing Annie since she left, Annie Zipkin. I used to live right where you go in to gate 3, and then you make an immediate right turn. And I totally agree. It's very dangerous. In fact, I brought it up. I think it was United M&C meeting that I brought it up at one point in time. And this isn't long ago, maybe 6 months. And I thought that the final decision was that when we changed the gate and put the proper up and down gate in there, that it would be taken care of. There is a situation where there's a very large piece of landscaping that's jutting out into what very easily could be the lanes of getting in there. So the suggestion that I had was to remove this big piece of landscaping that doesn't serve any purpose except make that entrance dangerous. So I believe that that's probably the simple solution. Not sure about that pine tree, that might need to go too. But we definitely have to open that up because it's really dangerous with the cars merging as you go in. And there will be a nasty accident if there hasn't been one already. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Judith.
I also wanted to respond to Ann, so I'm sorry she's gone, but others can relate to this. I go in gate 3 a lot. And my experience is a lot of that potential danger is due to lack of driver etiquette. You see 3 people in there all racing their engines, trying to beat the other guy into getting into that single lane first. So for that reason, I think we ought to look to that lack of driver etiquette for any potential danger. Yes, I'd like to see that widened to 2 lanes, but that is one problem I've identified.
Thank you. Here, Bert.
Yeah, I'd like to address the Roundup problem. I agree with Dick in part because the decision that Roundup is dangerous has been made by the court with a jury. Well, you know what juries are all about. There really is no scientific proof, but in particular with GRF and I think with the mutuals, and people do not understand this. Roundup is not being sprayed on our lawns. If it were being sprayed on our lawns, we'd have dead lawns. Okay, Roundup goes into the beds and along the edge of these beds, and dogs do not belong there. I mean, you know, you should be walking along your sidewalk or onto the lawn, but just keep your dog away from the beds. And also, it probably does go on our slopes, which is an ideal place to keep the weeds down. So I think it's just a misunderstanding by a lot of people. But we are in the process of testing alternatives to Roundup today, and the results will probably be out within the next month or two. But there's a test program ongoing right now. The big issue and why we need to do this, if we go and stop using Roundups, the initial estimate by a preliminary test shows that we would triple the cost of dealing with weeds in the community. And this is this is a big, big, big hit to anybody's assessments. So hopefully you begin to understand what the problem is. Thank you.
Thank you. Ray?
Yeah, I'd like to address two different things. I'd like to continue with what you stated. People don't really pay attention to what's going on. I'm going to hold something up here in a moment, and just for kicks, I'd like to find out if any of you know what it means. I have 3 circles, and I have lines going across, and then I have a square. Do you have any idea what that means? If you make a left turn to come in here, there are 3 of these. And you know what? People don't go, they go to the first, there'll be 2 or 3 cars behind. And what happens is that you got 8 or 10 cars going out like this into the first driving lane. And that's a dangerous situation. Those circles in the asphalt, in the squares, are telling a camera up there, we are here, we're ready to go, and that lets the light change. The same thing happens with what was said earlier. Unfortunately, people, I'm number one. I don't care what you do. I'm going to get in that lane ahead of you. That is the big problem. And here again, we've got to be conscious of this situation and be a little bit more considerate. Are we going to have schools of it? Yes, but I've mentioned this, I don't know how many times. I've probably mentioned this 8 or 10 times. Nobody cares. They don't pay attention to it. And it has caused accidents. And then getting onto the drop-in lounge. If I'm in there and I'm wanting to watch sports channel and you come in and you want to watch TNT or Channel 7, what happens? You got 20 people in there, they all want to watch different things. So you have to have an understanding. If you come in, whatever is on you will watch at that point in time. After that's over, someone can make a change. Those are the things that have to be considered. Common sense again. And this is unfortunately the challenge that we have. Thank you.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Jim.
On the on that tree at Gate 3 that you're talking about, Pat had me over there, and with the conversation here now, I'm going to put that on our agenda next week on the MNC meeting, have that removed.
Thank you very much, Jim.
Okay.
Joan?
I'd like to address Mr. Lafferty's question about the cable cards. These are not set-top boxes, everyone. They were cards that were sold, and Dick knows about it because I think you had one, right? They were sold early on for a single price. But what we found is that it's costing us, that you had access to all of the channels that you now have access to with the DVR, and then some. But it's costing the village about $5 a month to keep those cards. So in essence, the folks that have the cards, we're getting them for free. It's nice, but we found that we have to charge for it, as we do with everything else in the village, in order to keep up on our expenses. I invite Dick to say anything you want to regarding that, if you would. I'd appreciate it.
I thought it was the TV guide.
Community vote. The card that they're referring to is if you get a TiVo set and eliminate the set-top box that you can purchase or rent from the village, you need this card. And I've heard Chuck expound on the fact that having the list of channels, the channel list, that costs money, and there are other expenses. So I'm perfectly willing to pay the $5 a month for the card. It's not a problem. We need to cover, as you said, the expenses.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else on the board response? No.
Okay, concerning that card, we've had numerous meetings, numerous committee meetings, we brought it up here, so it has been addressed in the proper channels, and I think the gentleman that was even talking about it, is he still here? Okay, and I think that that's what happens sometimes, is people that bring up things, then some of them don't even realize they're supposed to stay and get a response, and they don't. And so then they go back out to the community, even though they versed something, they really didn't have the, by not staying, they missed the opportunity to hear what's going on and all of the things that have transpired in order to come up with this fee. One of the things that they found about that card was there was a glitch, and they didn't realize that they were thinking about withdrawing the card because they could get more channels than normal, than what we said they could get. And so by charging that fee, it covered the channel cost. So, you know, and the other things. I mean, it got to be much more complex, but that's all I can say about that one. Now, as far as the TV and the drop-in lounge, it took so long because we had to really address it. A police report was filed, you know, we had 4 people that were involved in it, and people said, well, if that happens again, just go over to the office and tell them, or, you know, have a volunteer break it up. We have liability issues. We can't have volunteers acting like referees. That's not what we do here. What we do here is we try and make the majority of people as, you know, we try and solve things for the majority. We're not going to make everyone happy. It's just not going to happen. And we looked at putting in the tablets, and the reason the tablets were shot down is because I've been going over there frequently, keeping a log and everything else and speaking to people, and where they wanted to put the tablets were on the game tables. And there are so many people that go there that play games, that engage, and they, you know, to me, it's like that was a crime. You know, you just can't do that because people, like when I was there one time, one of the biggest opponents of this was complaining, and then she was doing a puzzle, and then somebody else came by and said, can I join you? And in the span of about 20 minutes, there were 2 or 3 people working on the puzzle. And I just think that that's the reason you go there. It is a drop-in lounge. People don't go there to spend, you know, opening to closing. They come there if they're waiting for a bus. They come there to meet with a girlfriend. They come there I go there for a cup of coffee after exercise class. There's numerous things, and you can kind of check it all out. And actually, Recreation's working on a set of rules for all clubhouses. And I think they're going to be like mindfulness rules. They're going to go something like speak quietly, clean up after yourself. If you have a disagreement, please leave the drop-in lounge, go outside to discuss, and appreciate everyone's rights. Now, I know that you think that that's common sense, but today it seems like that sometimes is lacking, and we need to post things like that. So Recreation is working on that. And the best thing we could come up with was this for right now. So we're going to implement it and, you know, and give it a shot, just like we do everything else. And then we'll kind of pilot to co-pilot. If we need to make adjustments, we will. Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Annette. Diane.
My only comment, or a couple of comments, one is about the gate arms at Gate 3. I thought that we looked at this when it was maybe Gate 5, and that they stagger them so that hopefully it actually helps control the flow of traffic. The other thing, I wanted to thank Maxine for her comments. And the other, I just wanted to say that I don't think that the removal of or limiting the use of the TV in the drop-in lounge rises to the level of either elder abuse or elder neglect.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. So where we go now is to the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by the board by one motion in the form listed below. In the event that an item is removed from the consent calendar by members of the board, such items shall be the subject of further discussion and action by the board. Pat?
I move that we accept the consent calendar.
I second it.
All those in favor? Consent calendar is passed. Thank you. Unfinished business, we have none. New business, entertain a motion to approve a resolution for a comprehensive staff training day. This is, the April is the initial notification. It must postpone to May to conform to the 28-day notification requirement that we have. Joan, please read.
Resolution 90-19XX, Comprehensive Staff Training Day. Whereas at the January Community Activities Committee meeting, staff recommended approval to close all Department of Recreation and Special Events facilities for a comprehensive training day for all recreation employees. And whereas the proposed comprehensive employee development and training day is new and has not been conducted in previous years, and whereas comprehensive training is critical to customer service-oriented corporations, which provides an opportunity to exchange ideas, review and or introduce new operational procedures and enhancements, focus on team building, develop customer service skills, ensure consistent delivery, and understand the vision and objectives of the department and corporation. And whereas clubhouse supervisors will develop and train staff members, and whereas staff will be paid to attend the training, those not scheduled to work that day would be asked to come in and attend, costing up to $4,500 if every team member attends. Now, therefore, be it resolved, April 2nd, 2019, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby introduces to close facilities with caveat that the golf facility remain open on August 14th, 2019, from 1 to 4 p.m. during a comprehensive staff training day. Excuse me. Sorry. And resolve further that the officers and agents of the corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution. I move we accept this resolution for discussion purposes and postpone it 28 days according to Civil Code 4360.
Do I have a second?
Oh, I have a question, and
Did you, who seconded?
you don't want to speak.
Judith, did you second
I
it?
second it, and I have a question if Joan doesn't want to speak first. Okay.
Go ahead. The only thing I want to note is that the golf course is remaining open during that time. We were concerned about that. Okay.
Can directors go if we don't charge anybody? It doesn't say if it's a closed meeting or not. Or
Brian,
closed training.
Is it closed?
It's anticipated that it's just for staff.
Just for staff?
Staff only?
Okay. Anyone else? No one else comment? I have a comment. As an educator, I have to say this is a wonderful opportunity. I really feel strongly that we need to provide training for all of our staff members in the department where they're working so that they can gain new skills and enhance the skills they already have. Thank you. So now, since we have a motion on the floor, all those in favor?
Please use your screens.
Screen.
Oh, screen. Okay, screen. Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you, everyone. Committee reports. Committee reports can be found in their entirety at the Laguna Woods Village link under Residents Golden Rain Foundation Documents. First, report of the Finance Committee, Director Phelps.
Okay. Let's see, before I pull up the slides and look at the details of the February financials, I wanted to address some confusion or misstatements about, specifically in the Globe, about monthly assessments. I just want to say that no matter which mutual you live in, the amount that goes to GRF each month is the same for everyone. In 2019, you pay GRF $202.83. Of that amount, $17 goes to GRF's reserves, and the balance goes toward operations. How is the amount determined? In September of each year, GRF passes an operating budget and a capital plan. The operating budget is an estimate of how much it will cost GRF to run the village the subsequent year, and the capital plan addresses how we will fund GRF's reserve obligations for the next 30 years. Based on the operating budget and the capital plan requirements, we compute how much the GRF assessment will be each month. We also include $2 for unexpected operating expenses that come up during the year. Okay, now to the slides, everyone's favorite part of the meeting. We have made some changes to try to be a little more transparent and to give a little more information. I hope it's helpful. So slide 1 is our income statement. Through February 28, 2019, total revenue for all GRF funds was $7.2 million, compared to expenses of just under $6.3 million, resulting in net revenue of $858,000. Next slide. In finance, we keep a close eye on our operating fund. Operations reported totaled $6 million, and expenses without depreciation were $5.5 million, which resulted in an operating surplus of just over $500,000 through the end of February. That's just in operations. Next slide. Excuse me. This slide compares the income statement to budget to gauge how we are doing overall. So the first column on the left shows the same income statement figures as were on slide 1. This is our actual results through the end of February. The second slide shows, the second column shows the amount budgeted for the same period, and the third column shows the variance between the two. It's important to compare the actual results to budget each month to make sure we are staying on track. We can see here that GRF ended the period better than budget by $270,000. And now slide 4. So on this next slide, we'll highlight the most significant areas in which the figures varied from budget, either favorably or unfavorably. The most significant favorable variances are shown in green, and the most unfavorable are in orange. Some variances are temporary due to timing. We spread the budgeted amount evenly throughout the year, but revenue and expenditures don't always occur evenly each month. Through February, the most significant examples of variances due to timing are repairs and maintenance, which is favorable by $103,000, and materials and supplies, which is favorable by $79,000. Some variances result from operational savings. For example, we had $79,000 of savings in employee compensation through February due to less participation in medical and retirement benefits. We also had $60,000 in utility expense savings. The rain in January and February resulted in GRF using less water for irrigation. In terms of revenue, interest income had a favorable variance of $61,000 due to higher reserve fund balances. On the other hand, trust facilities fees were down $125,000, as were golf operations, which were unfavorable by $112,000. Time will tell if the trust facilities fee variance will continue, but the same rain that saved us money in utilities meant fewer rounds of golf played, which resulted in less revenue that we're unlikely to make up during the year. Slide 5. This pie chart shows our expenses of $5.6 million by categories. The largest categories are compensation, cable TV, utilities, etc. The ratio of these expenses will change as expenses are incurred throughout the year. Next slide. This pie chart shows it compares our sources of revenue other than assessments. To date, we have received $2 million in non-assessment revenue. Our largest revenue is generated by broadband services for premium channel subscriptions and set-top box rentals, followed by trust facilities fees, golf operations, and so forth. These revenues offset costs and help keep our assessments down. I'll address our non-assessment revenue in more detail at a future meeting. Slide 7. Most home sales generate a $5,000 trust facilities fee. These fees are expected to account for more than half, in fact, 62% of this year's contributions to GRF reserves. A few years ago, the GRF assessment included over $30 a month for reserve contributions, but the trust facilities fees have allowed us to reduce that amount. Because of their importance to our reserves, we have added a slide to show monthly home sales data from 2017 through 2019. Community-wide sales totaled 101 through February of 2019. This is up from sales of 99 for the same period in 2018. Next slide. Now let's get into some detail about our reserve and contingency funds. The adjusted balance of each of the funds is shown in this slide. Starting with the first column on the left, the funds show a combined ending balance of $29.1 million. Included in this total are contributions received this year through assessments, trust facilities fees, and interest earnings. The second column shows work in progress of $5.5 million, reflecting the amounts paid for projects not yet complete. The third column shows the resulting adjusted fund balance of $23.5 million. Then the next slide. The purpose of this new slide is to provide some historical perspective by comparing the adjusted reserve and contingency fund balances for 5 years, in which the balances averaged about $23 million. And slide 10. This slide replaces the old slide that listed total appropriations and remaining encumbrances by fund. This new slide provides the same bottom line data, but gives more information on where the money is committed. For example, you can see on the third line that we have appropriated almost $5.2 million for clubhouses, $4.6 million of which has not yet been spent. Further down the list, you can see we've appropriated almost $2 million for paving, of which $1.1 million has not yet been spent. In total, $22.5 million has been appropriated by the board for various projects and equipment purchases. The remaining encumbrances against our reserve and contingency funds is almost $18 million. That's it for the slides. I hope the additional information in our finance report is helpful. I remind you that much more detail is provided in the GRF Finance Committee meeting agenda packets, which are available online and at the GRF Finance Committee meetings. Other finance news to report. The KPMG audit of our 2018 financial statements is complete, and the final financial statements were presented to the United Third and GRF boards for acceptance yesterday. Our next finance meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, April 24th at 1:30 in the boardroom. All homeowners are invited to attend and ask questions. I'll be here to chair the meeting, but will not be here to provide the finance report at next month's GRF meeting. I leave that task in the capable hands of Director Pat English, and I thank her for agreeing to do it. That's it for the finance report. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Diane. Any questions for Diane? Okay. Very good. So now we move on to Community Activities Committee, CAC, and Annette.
Well, this committee's been very busy as usual. Valentine's Day dinner was hosted at Clubhouse 1, and it sold out with a special photo being given to the attendees. The Spouse Whisperer and the first annual Oscar viewing night were held at the Performing Arts Center. The Mardi Gras event at Clubhouse 1 sold out. Bus excursions have had extensive waiting lists due to the popularity each month, and Recreation installed a new lottery system, which is well received. The garden centers had a volunteer day, which was successful, and then they held an open house, and 32 plots were reserved that day, so that was a huge success. At Clubhouse 1, there's the mini lights. The mini gym has light covers issues, and what happened was the LED lights were installed 2 years ago, and Recreation is coordinating with maintenance on scheduling this repair, and what it is the lights were retrofitted, and the cover was not originally secured properly, so they're working on that. On Bohemian Rhapsody was shown at the Performing Arts Center on Monday, March 18th, and that was well received, and they're scheduling another one. The Health and Wellness Expo was held March 21st and 22nd at Clubhouse 5. That went over very well. That was successful. On April 3rd, a specialty Mexican dinner will be hosted at Clubhouse 1 for $16 per person. On April 6th, the Village Bazaar will be hosted at Clubhouse 5 with doors opening at 10 o'clock. Village Games begins on April the 8th with over 20 competitions. The Easter Buffet will be held at Clubhouse 5 on April 21st at 1 p.m., and the cost is $24 for adults, $12 for children 6 to 10, with children under 5 free. As mentioned by Jeff Parker, the Easter at the Equestrian will be hosted at the Equestrian Center on April 20th at 10 a.m. We did look at some things. The shade structure for Pool 5, which was requested, was looked at. Discussion ensued, and it was not recommended. So not to design or build a permanent shade structure due to cost. The other thing that we talked about, which is, an increase of the tree plot fees. It will go from $30 to $50 per year, and anybody that will help to cover, it'll take us a few years, but it will help to cover those trees which are over like 30 feet, anyway, they're very large trees. We will now have them professionally trimmed. We are not asking residents to do that. Okay? Clubhouse 4, renaming survey results. Basically, the survey results came in, and the majority of those surveyed stated no change to name Clubhouse 4 is warranted. So Clubhouse 4 will continue to be Clubhouse 4. All right? The other thing that happened was there's always constant review of the emeritus program. And Mr. Gunner had basically said that 15 emeritus classes had been identified as mostly being non-resident attendees, and they were canceled. And then he basically stated that jewelry classes were added by the recreation department. They've hired people, and this is the first that's going on, so we want to see how that comes out. There also has been the Saddleback Emeritus Survey that has been sent out. It is complete, as many surveys have been returned. And once we're able to evaluate the surveys, recreation will then be able to report back as to what that has yielded us. And let's see, that's about it. The next meeting will be on May the 9th at 1:30 here in the boardroom. Thank you.
Thank you. And next, we have maintenance and construction with Director Mattson.
We did not have a meeting this last month, but we will be having a meeting. Whoops. We did not have a meeting last month, but we will be having a meeting actually next week, the 20th. We currently have 27 items on our project log that staff is working. And also on the concerning the pickleball paddle tennis grand opening, I attended that, and it was a wonderful service, very impressive, and those people are so appreciative, and it was just they had a few hundred people there, I understand, or almost 300, I think, and it was a wonderful, wonderful grand opening. I'm very impressed. On the gates, 2 and 8, as our CEO has just recently told us, gates 2 and 8 are complete. They're open now. And next week, I think on Wednesday, gates 3 and 7 will be closed. That's our next 2. Also, at our meeting next week, we're going to be talking about the tennis. So they have a small building, and it's in need of a lot of work, and so that's going to be on our agenda, and along with a few other things. Also, what we came up here with that Gate 3, that one lane, actually, it's 3 lanes going in there, and it all goes down, condenses down to 1 lane, but those, those trees are really massive, and they really need to be taken out, and I will be glad to put that on our agenda for next week. That concludes my report.
Next week, it's the 10th, not the 20th. Just the date of the meeting.
You're right, you said the 20th. but it
Oh,
is-
excuse me. Yeah, that's right, 10.
I know you want a lot of company.
Is it on the 10th?
Yeah.
Next week,
But it is
Wednesday
on
the 10th.
Yeah.
The 10th.
Sorry about that.
It's written in the report. Our report says the 10th right here.
Yes. Okay, next M&C meeting, April 10th, which is next week.
Where'd this come
Report of Media and Communications Committee.
Energy committee? Did you have something from energy?
No, he didn't say. We have nothing from energy,
Okay.
do we? Do we have anything from energy? Yes, Director Mulder.
There we go. Okay. In gear. I attended a community choice aggregation workshop for Dana Point this past period. For those who do not understand or know what aggregation is all about, there are 160 municipalities and communications in California that currently avail themselves of this community choice aggregation. What it does basically is the community selects alternative sources of energy that it's clean energy, as opposed to going to the utility that they are currently getting their energy from. And this energy then is offered to residents directly at a reduced rate. So it's a money-saving opportunity for people in the community to get their power, and at the same time encourages use of clean energy. Dana Point is now in the process of completing a study to move on and try to use aggregation. I came back and I contacted our city, and I learned that our city is aware of this, and they're currently in the process of awaiting an Irvine study to see what the city of Irvine does with regard to the economic evaluation of going to aggregation. So we'll wait and see what happens there, and then we'll jointly work with the city, since the aggregation programs really are municipality programs. Okay. One nice thing that we learned is that since we no longer have SCE maintaining our streetlights, Siemens has now taken over that job. The report that we've been getting on our street lighting says that there are a fewer number of streetlight outages. So we're taking a step in the right direction to deal with that problem. Last time I reported on a technology, Ice Bear, which was supposed to increase the efficiency of air conditioning by generating ice. And a study was done jointly with our staff and the company called Bear. It was determined that this would not be an economical move for the community because, number one, we're really too far down the road with replacement of our current air conditioning, and the retrofit is not realistic. So we put that in abeyance. The last thing is that I had submitted my resignation to this task force, so will no longer be involved with the Energy Task Force. That's my report. The next meeting is May 1st.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Bert, and thank you for your service to the Energy Task Force. Bert was the person who founded that when he was on the third mutual board. Thank you. So next we have Media and Communication with Joan Millman.
Okay. We met last Monday, the 18th. I'm sorry, we met last March on Monday, the 18th. And Mr. Holland reported on broadband and contracts. And as usual, the contracts are very expensive. So that's one of the reasons we are charging for set-top boxes and all the rentals that come from the from broadband help to pay for our costs for the contracts. And we even budget a loss, although we were under the loss, so we've made some progress. Does that make sense? We weren't quite, we were less than budget, which was good. Is that? We have such channels as Fox News and Fox Net West, and we have an independent group. Our contract is negotiated, not just for us, but for many other groups in this, and we are just a small part of it, so we're kind of dependent on the negotiations for these high-cost contracts. Ms. Pollins reported on our communications, including things like new resident orientations, department workflow. They've been very busy in communications department since she's come. In fact, it's exploded. As you may find that more of our communications look alike. They are representative of Laguna Woods Village, but she's gotten herself into, taking a look at almost everything that goes out. So therefore, that department is becoming a very busy department. So communications is something that we all can look forward to and will keep us informed of everything that's going on, everything from RFIDs to Code Red. So we're on in everything you can imagine. The, the breeze, the communications from all of the, sorry. I hope that all of you are reading The Breeze. As we have a high readership, and I'm very proud of that. Also, we have a weekly update on what's happening in the village through your internet. So pay attention to what's going on. That way, we're going to try to increase our communications through the new resident portals, which are due to be opened soon. And we'll explain how you're able to get into your own portal on the internet, on the website. In time, you'll be able to buy tickets through this website, through your portal. You'll be able to order work done through your portal and find out how it's progressing. You'll be able to even pay your fees through the portal. And in time, you'll be able to ask questions of the boards and make statements and get answers. So it's a whole new thing, so watch for it. I want to tell you about the docent tours, which have been updated by Becky. She's going to be having 2 new tours. On the 5th Thursday of the month, the real estate agents will have a special tour and not have to go on the regular docent tours anymore, but we'll get their questions answered, and there'll be very special tours. In addition, she's also planning to have a regular residence, a permanent residence tour. So it's not exactly a docent tour in the same way, but so you'll get a different view of the village as you, as an old timer, may find some new things you didn't know about when you take these tours. But they'll be offered once every time there's a 5th week in the month. So they're going to look forward to them. We talked about the drone policy, and that drone policy's been in existence since 2017, and it's fine. I hope that you will read the drone policy. You're not invited to fly drones in the village. You are not invited to do that. You have to have special permission and a flight plan and be qualified as a drone pilot, which is not grandfathers showing their grandchildren how to run the drones around the swimming pools. So be careful. I haven't seen any of those things happening, but it's a matter of privacy and safety, so be careful about that. A part of media and communications is Thrive, and I'd like to invite Beth to tell us a little bit more. We were at, Thrive was in attendance at the Health and Wellness Expo, and some of our information was there. So let me turn it over to Beth.
Thank you, John.
I
So-
have a question.
Sure.
Under others present, listed under VMS.
I'm sorry. What? Repeat that, please, Dick. What did you say?
Under others present, I'm listed as VMS.
Oh, sorry.
And the pay's the same, but I never made the change.
Thank you,
I like
Dick.
that
We'll
Dick
have that
thing.
corrected. Okay, thanks.
Good one, Dick. Thank you. Thrive. The Thrive project has been going on for about 5 years, and it's in the process of expanding more and with branching out in different directions. Here we are in Laguna Woods Village, 55, and it's time to thrive. And we're emphasizing all the wonderful things that we do to thrive in the village. We have 2 really strong projects that just occurred. The, how do you pronounce that, Jones? The Centenarian program. And what is happening is Mark Ravenovich and Lucy Parker are working together and leading a team and interviewing. We have over 70 folks here living in the village that are over 100 years old. And they are getting volunteers to be interviewed. They're interviewing these people, and the interview will be on tape as well as a picture of then and now, high school graduation, and now is 100 years old. And it's a great project, and it's an expanding project, and we're really happy to have it going on, and you will be seeing more and more of that as the days go by. And the other thing is the Health and Wellness Fair that we just had, and this was the second big Health and Wellness Fair, and Thrive had a table there, and we're promoting Thrive as well as searching for folks over 100 years old that would be that would want to be interviewed. One of the things that I can say about Thrive is that Thrive is, it's a task force connected to media and communication, but we have on our team citizens, board members, and staff, all of whom are really strong members of staff of the Thrive Project, and they contribute so much. And it's so good to see people from different directions coming together to see what we can do to enhance and promote thriving in Laguna Woods Village.
Thank you, Beth. The next meeting of Media and Communications will be April 15th, Tax Day, at 1:30 here in the boardroom. Please come.
Thank you. Mobility and Vehicles Committee, Director Groves.
All right, the meeting was held February 6th. The committee concerned itself with mobility issues, including buses and other transportation, as well as various vehicles utilized by VMS personnel. The contract for the upcoming study for the village bus system was signed on March the 5th. The study began immediately by having the company hold an open session at Clubhouse 1, a main lounge. The firm performed the study, will take this opportunity to explain their plan and get an input from the community. It is an important part of the study, and residents were urged to attend. There was also a similar meeting of the same day at the Towers. The committee was also looking forward for 3 or 4 models of the buses being considered by purchase by GRF, And we did do that, and believe me or not, there was one bus that the whole group of us thought was absolutely phenomenal. The noise factor was tremendously low as compared to what it had been in the past on some of them. The air conditioning unit had been in the back part of the bus. It's now in the center part of the bus, which means the people in the back weren't freezing to death, so to speak, and everyone was getting a value on it. So we indicated that we'd certainly like to get that particular bus. At the meeting on the April 3rd, which is tomorrow afternoon at 1:30, there will be a transportation maintenance manager will report regarding the ridership data, the bus demonstration updates, the transit study update by the PowerPoint. Fair and Pierce, Mr. Stephen Brown, the senior principal, will be making a presentation in here tomorrow, giving us an update of what had happened with everyone's input to them and what they have found so far. The next meeting, like I said, is tomorrow afternoon at 1:30 in this building right here, main line. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Security and Community Access Committee, Director Tibbetts.
Thank you. We didn't have a meeting last month, so I would like to update you on some of the things that I have learned. I'm sorry, my voice is kind of hoarse this morning. The number one complaint in the manor that the security gets is falls. The number two complaint is falls outside of the manor, so be careful when you're out there walking. The number one major complaint issue that we get is illegal occupancy, and the compliance is coming down a little heavier. They're looking at this, and they're making security checks more now than they have been in the past. The biggest crime reported is petty theft. Most of the petty theft are flower pots, of all things, in Power County. So we live in a pretty secure environment. Security does find a lot of people in the late evening walking around in the carports, and a lot of them are visitors. A lot of them are people who live here. So the best thing to do, if you need to walk at night, stay on the sidewalk and you won't be stopped. I have an update from Chief Moore that he wanted to mention. Everyone has mentioned the gate access, the gates 2 and 8, as has been mentioned, have been approved. We still have a very prevalent problem with the, we're doing gates 5 and 6 right now. It's people without the RIFD stickers. They try to get in the gates on the outside gate, and it won't work. So the guard has to come out and check the ID and then let the person in. So if you don't have an RIFD sticker, use the innermost lane. Better yet, get a sticker. It's only 25 bucks, and it sure saves a lot of headaches. Gate, as mentioned, gate 3 and 7 will be started, I think Jim said Wednesday of this week, and they have really been helpful. Traffic enforcement, there's been an upswing for some reason on speeders. We've had a big increase on speeding, and the traffic fine for those is going to go up to about $25. And that will be, I'm not sure when, Ray might know that one. Contractor parking has been mentioned many times. The contractors, if they're doing work for you, they cannot park in a parking spot inside the cul-de-sac. They have to park, take their equipment inside the manor, and then park out in the street. And violations on that is $25, and that is pretty upsetting to these contractors. The, at this time, I'd like to call on Director Ray Gross to report on traffic hearings. Ray?
Yeah, I'd like to continue with what you were just starting about. The contractors have a copy of that information. It explains to them what they're supposed to do, and for some reason, they just don't do it. And if you invite them in, naturally, the notice of violation is given to you instead. So that's the
right.
situation on it. I'd like to go right now. We're talking about people, for whatever reason, don't pay attention or don't understand or whatever. But just to give you an idea, we're talking traffic now on golf carts. I have seen at least 3, and I think 4 golf carts on Santa Maria, time after time after time. The speed limit there only at one spot is 25 miles an hour, which is by the school zone. The rest of it is 40 miles an hour. These golf carts can only go 15 miles an hour. And it says here specifically, golf carts can be driven on city-designated golf cart paths across the city's designated golf cart crossings. In other words, if you're going from Clubhouse 7 to Clubhouse 1, that's a clear place. But golf carts cannot be driven across any part of El Toro Road and Moulton Parkway intersection. On El Toro Road, Moulton Parkway, Santa Maria, or Ridge Road Drive, including the sidewalks unless designated as a golf cart path. In City Central Park, Ridge Route, Park A, Place for Paws Dog Park, or Woods End Wilderness Park Preserve, Laguna Coast Wilderness Park, Laguna Woods Municipal Code, such and such. And people, again, just don't seem to understand. And you know, this is kind of a funny situation I'm about to bring up right now regarding a traffic in a notice of violation situation. I've reported once before, I was a first vice president for California Conference of Arson Investigators, and I was assisting Los Angeles Fire Department on a fire investigation one day. And this brand new Cadillac was parked in front of a fire hydrant. Both windows in the front were broken out, and the 4x4, what they call the 4x4, which is the connector for the hoses, were placed in the front seat. I just happen to have also here a copy from the local situation here. It says, firefighters broke out the windows of a car to get their hoses and fire attendants in Anaheim. And here again is the picture of it. People don't realize that. They have to have access to this. And you get a notice of violation as well as your windows broken out. Please pay attention to what's going on. As far as traffic, the hearing we had last month, there was only 6 people in the morning. We handled it rather quickly, and there were 3 letters coming in for situations that people say they can't appear, and for whatever reason. So what happens is that we go through them as if they were present with the videos and so forth and so on to give them a fair chance. But just to give you an idea of the notice of violations, the speed is up to 92 here, so to date, from 60 last year to 92 this year. Speed over 16 miles an hour is up to 28. Unlicensed vehicles are 8. No parking, 29 from 3. That means a lot of people park on the grass and so forth, or on the sidewalk rather. Limited parking again is not a challenge. Expired registration, 76. A lot of people figure, they're just driving in here, they don't need to have it registered. That's not true. You must have your vehicle registered for insurance purposes. Expired, no decal. Here again, was being mentioned a little while ago. It went up from 14 to 186. That means that many people did not get the decal put on there to come in and out of the place. And handicapped, no big changes, only 3. Parking situations, again, was up out of various places from 28 to 55. And we try to explain to the folks when they come in what the circumstances are. We show them videos and so forth. And people insist that they go, or they're stopped at stop signs. And we've got pictures showing people going through 20, 25 miles an hour. We've got people driving 60 miles an hour in here. And it's very evident we have signs. So the next meeting will be, let's see, 9 a.m. boardroom on April the 17th. It'll be in the morning here. Thank you.
Okay, the next report will be an update on disaster preparedness by Judy.
Jane Doe, who lives in Laguna Woods Village, is at home, very contented, sipping her evening tea and flipping through the pages of her favorite magazine, while her visiting 2-year-old granddaughter plays happily at her feet. Her 77-year-old husband naps on the couch next to their new 6-month-old puppy. She lives in an area where earthquakes are frequented, so that at first she hardly noticed as her cup began to clatter in its saucer. But quickly the shaking became more and more severe, and the building they live in began to rock alarmingly from side to side. It's a quake, she thought, and it's not letting up. She grabs her granddaughter by the arm and rushes to her husband's side, waking him up to get his attention. The room goes dark. She scoops up the puppy in the other arm and manages to get to the stairwell with one struggling child under each arm. Dust begins to fall from the ceiling, and she realizes that there is no way to get all 3 children down that long, steep stairways safely by herself. The elevator has no power. She rushes to return to her husband, who is now searching for his wheelchair. She puts the puppy down to help her husband while still wrestling with the toddler under one arm. She can feel the heat on her face and starts to wonder how she is going to manage all 3 of them down that perilous stairs. Anxiety begins to build. Confusion about what to do next is taking its toll. When there, a knock on the door, and she sees a friendly neighbor in a yellow vest asking her, "Do you need help? I will call in the help you need." The task force, Good Neighbor Captain, passes the emergency needs on to his clubhouse coordinator and the command post by this radio. This is the quickest way for first responders to get the information of who needs help, where the fires are, and who is safe and or sheltering in place. The Good Neighbor Captain puts this door hanger on the door. And it identifies who needs help, what type of help they need, or if they're sheltering in place. And as you can see, it's very visible for the first responders to see. Her anxiety starts to subside, and the 2-year-old stops screaming. Jane puts the puppy in its pet carrier and helps her husband into the wheelchair. We live in an area with frequent earthquakes. Are you prepared? Does your building have a disaster preparedness Good Neighbor Captain? Do you even know who they are? It only took a good neighbor approximately 3 minutes to knock on a door, identify, and transfer information. In Psychology Today, there was a research study on emotion regulation, or the strategies people use to change or modify their emotional state in order to feel better or in order to meet a particular goal, such as behaving appropriately in a particular situation, such as a disaster. The research indicates that using something they call cognitive reappraisal, the ability to rethink the nature or implications of a disaster in order to alter the impact of the disaster, helps individuals cope better during this crisis, leading to a more positive outcome. In other words, repeated preparation for a disaster decreases anxiety, confusion, and increases your ability to act effectively during a real crisis. Just knowing that you have a Good Neighbor Captain nearby will prepare you to handle a natural disaster more effectively. Please consider becoming a Good Neighbor Captain. You can download the forms off the Laguna Woods web under the security section. We had our last meeting on March 26th, 9:30 here in the boardroom. We no longer have them in the Cypress Room, where we approved to use this door hanger. Our meetings are held on the last Tuesday of odd months at 9:30 here in this boardroom from now on. So our next meeting will be May 28th at 9:30 in the boardroom. Classes have been scheduled for the next 4 months. We have on Monday the 15th from 1 to 4, basic first aid training at Clubhouse 7, Wednesday, May 1st, from 2 to 4, good neighbor captain training, and it's no commitment if you just show up for the training and see what it's all about and just observe. That's also at Clubhouse 7. Wednesday, June 5th, from 1 to 4, will be adult CPR and AED training. And Saturday, July 6th, from 10 to 12, will be another Good Neighbor Captain's training. Earth Day is April 18th. It's a Saturday at Clubhouse 1 from 1 to 4, and we're asking all of you to check that out. The next California Shakeout is October 17th at 10:17 a.m., so we're asking people to participate in that. And in your agenda packets, on number 14, it does say, committee reports will be found in their entirety at the following link. Well, disaster preparedness is a task force and not a committee, so from now on, I will be submitting the minutes to the agenda packet, but I will not be submitting my reports, because as you can see, they're sort of informal. Thank you.
I got a question.
Thank you, Judith. We have a question. Bert?
Judith, there are many houses or units that are, certainly the front door is not visible from the street or from the sidewalk. And hanging that on the doorknob is not going to facilitate anybody telling that there's somebody that's injured within that unit. And that's true, I mean, even in United where you have the fourplexes, okay? I would think that what you'd want to be able to do is find some way of allowing emergency people to drive down the street and somewhere it's visible from the street or from the sidewalk. And I know my house, you're not going to see that. And I know a number of homes where you're not going to see that thing hanging off a door. And I don't know whether this has been taken into consideration.
Yeah, we discussed that in detail on several of the last meetings, which I know you weren't able to be there. And that's why it took so long. We've been working on this for almost 8 months. There is another option we have, and it's about half this size, and it's like a sticky note that we could put on the garage door, but they're very expensive. So right now, this is what we chose, and it would look the same colors, have the same thing on each side, and I have a sample. I didn't bring it because we're not considering using it, but they're very, like 3-4 times the cost of this. But that's why this is not the first and only step. This is just an additional step. The radio, when you get the knock on the door and the good neighbor assesses the situation and they put on here there was no answer, they're confirmed away, what they have medical needs, and there's a place to put notes, and whether they're bleeding or confused or whatever. And so all of that information goes on another sheet that the good neighbor captains have. And they check it off. They put the manor number. And that information goes by radio directly to the command post, who then calls it in to the fire department in 911. So they know. That's what I meant when I said that's the quickest way. They don't just go haphazardly through the community looking for these yellow things. They already have a building, they have a manor number, and they already know to go to that location. This is for easy, quicker identification to back up what they already have in their report. Does that help?
Yeah, very much so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry I didn't include all that.
Okay, thank you, Judith, for a very clear report. I'd like to go to Director Gross now and have him report on the Laguna Canyon Foundation.
Bert had his hand up first, but okay. We have at the front counter of the Laguna Canyon Foundation April activities report. Unfortunately, they're not putting phone numbers in here anymore, but you do need to make online reservations. They are definitely required, and what you need to be able to do is to RSVP online at lagunacanyon.org, or you can look in the phone directory. For some reason, apparently, the phone numbers I've been giving out, they've made a change on them, and they have not put it in on the new one. But we have many of these out front. It's great information. It has fitness hikes, trail stewardship days, keep it wild, native plant hikes, Environmental Day, Discovery Heights, all kind of information. It's about 8 pages full, so it's very enjoyable. Do contact them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
Just had one other
Yes,
question.
Bert.
This problem that was raised with regard to people coming up to the gate without an RFID, I just wonder, is there signage or anything that basically says, you know, this gate or gate access requires RFID?
No, as far as I know, no.
Would that help? I mean,
It might, I'll mention it to Chief Mooring as a suggestion.
just
We've
to
had a
have-
lot of people go through the gate arms, and they, probably half a dozen in gate 5 and 6, but I'll mention your concern. Never mind.
If I might, this has been mentioned time and time and time again, for people to go in and get their vehicles registered exactly. I don't know how many times we've said this. And
There are
for
people that
whatever
are not
reason, people are
residents,
not
right?
paying attention to it.
There are people that are not residents.
Those people that are not residents are visitors, so there's a section that goes into visitor. They don't get one. They just get visitor side, and they have to show a pass to come in. That's the difference. But our people have been told time and time again, the chief has put it out, I've put it out, and people do not go in and have it done.
Okay, Jeff, would you?
To the president and to the board, to address that question, yes, Tim and Siobhan and I met the other day when the gates came open, and we are considering a signage that would be out farther enough out so that people would realize if they don't have an RFD, go to the left, and if you do have an RFD, go to the right. Hopefully that will help some of the confusion that may be out there, so we're looking at how we could put a temporary sign out there for that.
If I might also, on gate 8 now, as you're coming in, there's a huge white area that says visitors on this side. It's got to be this big.
That's good.
So it's very regularly seen from a long distance away.
Yeah, that's true. You know, it is aggravating. These rules really are quite simple, but for some reason, the rules are broken. But anyway, that's the end of our report. Our next meeting in security will be in this room on the 22nd at 1:30.
Thank you, Don.
You're welcome.
Okay. Bert, Landscape Committee. Is it you or Jim?
Oh.
Would like to say something?
Agriculture Committee did not meet this past time, and it's going to meet it says March 20th, but it's not. It's May 20th, 2019 at 1:30 in the boardroom. And hopefully by then we'll have the results of the Roundup study.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's next Monday.
Okay.
May 20th.
May 20th. Thank you, Bert.
You're welcome.
We are on number 16, Director's Comments, and I'm going to start with Director English.
No comments. Good meeting. Thank you.
I just want to remind people, since Gate 7 is going to be closed on the 8th, and I live right there on Kaya Sonora, and the entire part of Kaya Sonora that goes from the gate to the no U-turn sign, that's the opening in the island, is all going to be closed off. And there's about 30 people, residents, that park there every night for convenience rather than having to go 3 blocks away to their carport. Or contractors park there because it's easier to cart in all of their drywall and equipment to the manor that's right there on Kaya Sonora. So if you're planning on having workers, consider changing those dates or postponing the work, and especially letting your visitors know they're not going to be able to park there, especially if you're handicapped. I have a neighbor that can't get up the stairs, so she's going to have to park on another street no matter what. So she's going to have to figure that out. So there's a lot of people in that situation. So those of you that live there, please consider some alternatives. We haven't got a letter yet from, I think there's a lot of people that don't get the Globe, so I'm hoping a letter will be sent out to the residents on that street warning them. Thank you.
There's 2 ways to come in there. You either have to come in through gate 9 or gate 8. That's the only way they'll be able to come in, and people naturally need to be told that. If they're on El Toro, use the gate 9, so to speak. If they're the other way, Santa Maria, use gate 8. And I've said an awful lot, thank you. Or 10, yes.
I just wanted to make it clear that Third Mutual owns the light posts, it's not GRF.
Thank you.
No comment. It's a good meeting, other than a good meeting.
Thank you.
This was a good meeting, thank you.
Thank you. Jim?
Great meeting. Thank you very much.
Yeah, nothing more,
Pardon?
nothing more.
Nothing more. Dick?
No comment.
I have nothing to add, thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Board, and I would like to say to all of our people out there in TV land, those of you who will be celebrating Passover and Easter, happy holidays, and thank you, and this meeting is adjourned.
Recessed.
Recessed.
That was 30.